Hello there, newcomer. Welcome to the Lifetips Podcast. My name is Nate, and I'm here to help you navigate through important situations that affect our everyday lives and provide a roadmap for you to make the best decisions in the future. The fun part is that each topic is unique to whatever you're going through. And it doesn't matter your youth or gender. Everyone can benefit. So sit back, enjoy the ride, and let's discover how we can live our best life today. Enjoy. Hello, and good evening, and welcome to the Life Notes Podcast. I'm your host, Nate. I go by the Wise Orator, and this is going to be so much fun. Before I go any further, I just want to say that you're listening to this podcast live on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google, Apple Music, and more, thanks to Anchor. And it's free. So all you have to do to get started is go to www.anchor.fm, download the app to your Android or iOS device, and start recording. So, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then we can go in. So I'm 25, and I work for Farmers Insurance, and I'm also a motivational speaker. And so if you're interested in figuring out my motivational speaking schedule, you can visit my website at www.natejones2016.wixsite.com/who is Nate Jones. That's www.natejones2016.wixsite.com/who is Nate Jones, all one word. You can also follow me on Facebook at The Wise Orator. It's my page where business endeavors like this will be uploaded. You can also follow me on Instagram at Nate_the_speaker. And you can follow me on Twitter at auth, AUTH_Gen_person. Basically stands for authentic, genuine person. So, this idea was basically generated from motivational speaking efforts to be a secondary source of information and knowledge for those who want more than the 5-minute message. So as I kick off episode 1, just look for these every third Sunday of the month, basically. And as time goes by, we'll be exploring different topics on an in-depth level. And so today, we're going to talk about the impact of Instagram. So Instagram, what is it? You basically already know. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. But Instagram basically is a photo and video sharing social network service owned by Facebook. But beyond the surface, there's a lot more danger that comes with Instagram. More importantly, the danger of Instagram is that it's consumed our lives. Today, I want to kind of explore why. And how can we reverse engineer the Instagram addiction that we have? How to begin to enjoy life again and reconnect with the people around us. That's extremely key. So I've come up with basically 3 things I want to talk about that are imperative to reclaiming life and spending less time on Instagram. Now, don't get me wrong. Before I get started, I do want to make this disclaimer. Instagram is fantastic. You can use Instagram for so many different things. I have a brand, and I use Instagram for work as well. And I know so many people who have brands and businesses who utilize Instagram as their platform to make things go. And that's great. That's what Instagram is for. But there are some negative aspects about Instagram that's taken away from the joy of everyday life that we really need to recapture if we're going to be able to live the life that you've been called to live here on this planet. And so the first way that Instagram is just in a negative light when it comes to my generation and the generation behind us is that Instagram causes a comparison crisis and ruins relationships. That's basically how it consumes us, at least the first way. It consumes us by causing comparison crisis and ruining relationships. Now, none of us are immune to the comparison game. We're all bound to compare ourselves to somebody at some point in our life. However, if you're always disappointed with your life in light of what you see from someone's Instagram page, then you could be going through an Instagram comparison crisis. Pretty much, if you follow someone on Instagram, right, and you know them personally, and you stumble across their page one day and you see that they're doing well, they're going to Tahiti and all these places, and their captions are lit and they have 45,000 likes. And then you go to your page and you barely have anybody liking your content, barely have anybody, saying anything about your stuff, commenting under your page, creating conversation. If all that is not happening on your page, you all of a sudden get discouraged, and that's natural. But if this is happening on a repeated, consistent basis, then you could be going through a comparison crisis with other people and yourself. So that's basically like the first thing I wanted to just address when it comes to Instagram. And I'm sure you all know about it, because Instagram basically is our everyday existence. And that's really sad. I really want to make that point clear. It's really sad that Instagram has become everything to us on a personal level. Again, business-wise, it's not that bad, but on a personal level, it's sad that Instagram has grown so much to the point where it's become, everything. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we continue to move forward. So the next thing that I want to point out is that Instagram ruins relationships. How? Well, Instagram is ruining romantic relationships by selling us the lie that sliding into the DMs is effective. It's really not. If you ask, excuse me, today I'm having a little bit of a issue, kind of swallowed something the wrong way. So if you hear me coughing a little bit more, then I'm sorry about that. But basically, ask any woman of class, any woman of dignity, intelligence, and character, and she'll basically tell you that it's way more attractive to be approached by a man rather than a boy. In other words, we basically just need to get back to asking for numbers and not Instagram handles. That's why Instagram is ruining romantic relationships. That's why sliding into the DMs isn't effective, because if you really look at it from that standpoint, then your chances at romantic relationships really aren't going to flourish in the long run, because your first instinct will be to go straight to the DMs, and that's just not really going to work, especially now in this generation. I mean, it might work, but you do have those rare cases where people just aren't like that and they prefer an old-fashioned approach. I'll get to that a little bit later in the conversation. So now let's talk about how we're going to reverse engineer the Instagram addiction. Now, this isn't really going to work with everyone, because not everyone knows that they're addicted to Instagram. And if they do know they're addicted to Instagram, very few of them actually want to change. So I'm talking to the people who actually want to change, the people that recognize that there's something wrong and they want to change that. And so I feel like that the best way that we can reverse engineer the Instagram addiction is time management. What does that mean? basically spend time with people. That's how you can manage your time in real life and not be on Instagram as much. Spend time with people in real life. That's what I do. I spent so much time with people within the last 2 years alone. I barely hop on social media to communicate with them. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do communicate with people on social media sometimes, but that's only to balance out communication. It's important to have multiple modes of communicating with someone and not just stick to one form of communication. Because if you stick to one form of communication, then when that form of communication runs out and you can't contact that person, how are you going to get in touch with them? So it's good to have social media for communication purposes so that you can connect with the person that you're in a relationship with on multiple levels. But what's not good is mostly doing the connecting through the Instagram app and not spending time with them face to face. Of course, I'll continue to post stories and post to my page. But again, that's not the problem. The problem is that we're using Instagram DMs as the form of messaging. I'll get to this later at the end in our last topic, but I'm convinced, especially for those who have iPhones, some of you out there have Androids, but for the most part, for the majority of us, we have iPhones. And with iPhone, with Apple, comes this ecosystem, and you get other features that Apple provides to you: iMessage, FaceTime, important aspects of communicating with people that Apple just made so lit, because green bubbles versus blue bubbles. I mean, come on, blue bubbles all the time. But, and then FaceTime is lit too. I'll get to that later, but still, like, these are vehicles, these are tools that are supposed to lead you into communicating with people and foster those face-to-face interactions, but they were never meant for us to be stagnant. They were never meant for us to be robotic and just stick to one form of communication. That's not the purpose for which these things are here, but we're using them that way, and that's the problem. Time spent with people requires you to actually meet up and actually discuss real life stuff, not just meet up and take selfies with each other or take pictures and post it to Instagram or just record the person on your story or Snapchat. I can talk about Snapchat another day, but the point is, we need to start putting our phones down when we're with people and start enjoying them and enjoying the moment versus enjoying the company of people with our smartphones still attached to our hands. Because if we don't stop this, then we're going to become dehumanized over and over again to the point where we lose touch with people. And then we inevitably lose touch with ourselves because we don't know what's real versus what's fake. Instagram is not reality. Instagram is just a snapshot of what goes on in reality so that you know, hey, we're doing something. But some people are so addicted to Instagram that it's become their everything, their go-to. The first thing they open up when they wake up in the morning, rather than their Bible app, is the Instagram app. And then at that point, it just becomes a ripple effect. And oh my goodness, it's crazy, guys. Like, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. But basically, yeah, just off the first two things, like to go back and catch people up to speed, like causing comparison crisis and ruining relationships is like the number one thing that Instagram does in a negative light. So in order to reverse that, we need to spend time with people more, because that will help curb the amount of time you get on Instagram, so that when you do get on there, You just do your occasional posts, your occasional Instagram story updates, your occasional, hey, what's going on world, stuff like that. And it doesn't become a habitual habit that you just go off and boom, continue to be on one thing for the majority of your time, because that will leave you with an unfulfilled life at the end of the day. It's all about making the right choices. Smart choices, wise choices. And then the last thing that I want to finish up with when it comes to Instagram is that connecting with people in real life requires you to use primary apps. And that's where I was going, to end it, basically. That's where I was going at the end of my second point. So let me ask you guys something. How often do you text? How often do you call? How often do you do both versus opening up social media apps to communicate with people? How often do you FaceTime? Again, if you have an iPhone, now I get it. Android does have these features. But primarily, if you have an iPhone, you know what I'm talking about. There's iMessage, the blue bubbles that we all send to people. Then there's FaceTime. Apple designed FaceTime for this very purpose, because sometimes the reality is that sometimes you can't see people face to face. So what do? If you have an iPhone and he or she has an iPhone, the way for you to see each other face to face when she's in one state and you're in another state, or if you're across country, is through FaceTime. And so if you FaceTime, then you know what I'm talking about. But I'll get to that later. But it's not a secret. The Instagram app is on your smartphone, and it's the number one app that we go to, and that is a mistake, because there are tons of other apps on your phone that you can open up. Primary apps being, again, the stock phone app. How often do you open that? Except to check business stuff. Yeah, everyone calls for business. Everyone checks their voicemails for business. We got to do that. We talk to our families. We got to do that. We call our families. We leave our families voicemails and stuff like that. I'm talking about social situations. How often do we call our friends? It's a lost art in society now. How often do you FaceTime your friends? That's a lost art in society now. We've got to get back to connecting with people through primary apps, because Instagram isn't perfect. At some point, you won't be able to rely on DMs. So in light of that, maybe it's time to consider pushing Instagram to the back burner. Maybe it's time to try a different approach when it comes to that young lady that you're interested in. I should know. There's two young ladies that I can think of right now. One of them I know because she's at my favorite fragrance store all the time. The other I met through a mutual friend. These are both gorgeous women, very beautiful women. But more than that, their personalities are dope, and they know how to communicate. They're good with replying back to text messages in a timely fashion. If you do call them and they need you, I'm pretty sure they will call you back, because if they text you back in 5 minutes, how soon back do you think I'll get a phone call from them if I needed to call them for any reason? Now, one young lady does have social media, but what I like about her approach to social media is that she's not too addicted. She's not addicted at all, but she's not addicted like everyone else is, to the point where she doesn't know how to communicate with people through the phone, through messages, and she actually sets up in-person meetings with people to go places, to enjoy life. And I'm sure the other young lady that I'm thinking of does the exact same thing too. I don't even think she's on social media. And that's great because you get those rare people sometimes where you just have their number and they have your number and you are not connected to them on any social media. So the only chance you have at talking to them is calling and texting. That's it. Those are the types of people that you can learn from because they know how to communicate with people in a way that's effective and produces lifelong relationships. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Because when you're old, in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and your grandparent age, and your children have children, what are you going to say to them? Wouldn't it be nice to say that I've been friends with this person for decades? Shoot, it would be nice to tell my kids one day that I had lifelong friends. And best believe I'm going to do that because I have a best friend in Florida and a best friend here where I live. And they're awesome. I love them to death. We're going to be friends for life. But see, guys, to close out, I basically just want to say that in order to get to this point where we're not too reliant on social media, where we're not too reliant on Instagram to bail us out or to create opportunities for each other, we've got to start doing things differently. And it starts with developing a mindset. It starts by changing your mindset. So don't forget what we've talked about today, guys. That Instagram causes a comparison crisis. And it can ruin relationships. It can ruin existing relationships, and it can ruin future relationships that are to come if you let it. And if you don't reverse engineer the Instagram addiction, you're going to be toast. Because it is an addiction. And then connect with people in real life. Use primary apps. Text people, call people, FaceTime them. And go the extra mile. Set up face-to-face interactions and actually follow through with them. Because that way, you'll be able to enjoy life to the fullest, to the point where one day you'll be able to look back and say you were friends with this person for decades. You were there for them when they needed you, and they were there for you when you needed them. The more human that we can be, the less power that social media will have on us. The less power Instagram will have with us. Shoot, it's not just Instagram. I can go on a tirade about how Facebook is messing us up, Twitter, Snapchat. But I just picked Instagram because it's the number one platform that we run to, that we turn to, that we're addicted to. To the point where we have lost sight of life. To the point where we don't know what's real anymore. I used to be like that. I used to depend on social media like crazy. But then I stopped. And I stopped because I started meeting people in real life. To the point where now my life is dope. I have friends. I have my best friends I told you about, but I have friends. I have an entire fragrance store of women that I can go see anytime I want. I walk in there and it's positive vibes. I don't just buy stuff from there. I love those girls. They're my girls. At the end of your life, when you're dead and you're on your deathbed, Or when you're in the casket and you're at your funeral, what do you think people are going to say about you? What do you want people to say about you? Do you want people to say that you were addicted to social media, that you were addicted to Instagram, and you didn't really spend time with people? Is that what you want to hear? Or would you rather hear people say that you were the best person they ever knew while you were alive because you really cared about them and you put forth effort to invest, not just say that you were friends and not back it up? So yeah, life notes. That's basically what it's going to be from now on. Just in-depth conversations about life that are a little bit deeper than the motivational speaking endeavors that I do. If you want to catch that, Sunday Social takes place at Half Smoke on Florida Avenue here in Washington, D.C. every third Sunday of the month at 6:30 p.m. That's where you can catch me. But until next time, hope you guys are doing great. Again, connect with me on social media for the purposes of just asking questions and really wanting to gauge life and make smart decisions. I've got you there. And I'll be back in November with something that will blow your mind just as good as today's topic. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.